For a lot of people to ask me how I do perspective, without guidelines or anything like that, to be entirely honest, I don't have an answer for that. I don't know. I've been drawing for so long that sometimes I kind of just map things out in my brain.
Juvvie, this artist on Instagram with over 50,000 followers, is tracing AI art and passing it off as original. And more importantly, they're scamming people by taking commissions and charging quite a lot of money for it. This case is particular as Juvvie can draw, but uses AI to finish it or shred it just traces AI. If you've already seen the callout post on my Instagram, well, buckle up because I'll be adding new information, rebuking some of Julie's arguments, and as well as correcting some misinformations. So the first giveaway is how drastically their art changed within a month. On April 19th, 2025, they posted 3 drawings, and just 3 days after, their art looks totally different. And if you compare the art from April 19th to May 18th, it just looks like a completely different artist drawing. Most artists improve gradually over time, but this jump is unnatural, especially since there are no clear signs of practice in between the time they posted the pieces. Now, to explain this gap in improvement, Juvvie's argument is that they had drawn things throughout the school year and posted them one after the other, once they finished. Scold. Which is a fair argument. I do that too sometimes. However, something didn't add up. Their captions say otherwise. Add now to the inconsistencies. My second point. Is there OC? Aethero, I believe. Sometimes the crown disappears. Sometimes the 2 strands of fabrics disappear. And the horns also disappear sometimes too, which is a significant part of the design. Imagine taking off what makes the character identifiable. And on their new post, the same OC didn't have the crown, didn't have the horns, nor the 2 strands of random fabric in the front. I just find that very suspicious. Also, in this character sheet, the clothes, none of the references have the same fit. I just felt I need to point that out because it's a character sheet. It's the place where artists look as a reference to draw your OZ sometimes, and it's inconsistent. What do you mean? On this Pokemon fan art of Raihem, the design just looks different. The hood is not orange nor spiky. In the interior, he has 3 hoodie straps with blades, and one thing I forgot to mention on the post is that the Pokemon character is hand, like the thumb is hidden behind their thighs. If you drew that, you would notice it. Why is the hand behind thigh? That's really odd. Okay, to the next point. Another major red flag is a noticeable gap between their final drawings and their actual anatomy skill level. For example, in the Malika Madoka Magica piece, the anatomy drawn as the base, so sketch, the sketch phase, as at an amateur level and contains several blatant errors, the proportions are off. This makes it hard to believe that the polished line art and the rendering are the result of a consistent, skilled hand. The final product looks far more refined than what their anatomical understanding would realistically allow for. A lot of people have been mentioning to me that this art piece of Aethra either has 6 fingers, so like the thumb is hidden behind the 5 fingers in the front, or they have a disproportionate pinky. You can't really tell which one it is. It's one of the 2. There's also a noticeable lack of tweaking in their sketch phase. Even highly skilled professionals make adjustment, experiment with proportions, or explore different ideas while sketching. But in Juvvie's process, everything seems to fall into place perfectly on the first try, every time. While the rough sketches are meant to be quick and loose, theirs always feel oddly effortless, with unusually clean for something drawn so fast. What really stands out is how closely the rough sketches matches the final line art. There's almost no visible correction or reworking, which feels unnatural, especially when it happens so consistently. across multiple pieces. Also, I want you to keep in mind the art process because this will be a very important point later in the video. Noticeably, they leave the background color for last. Usually, artists add the color of the background first as it helps understanding how bright and dark, or warm or cool the lights and shadows would be. It is odd how they manage to render everything in a way that the lighting and ambience remains consistent across the entire piece. Throughout this bee paint, there are absolutely no corrections of the colors, of the proportions, or the shading, as if the drawing is magically complete in one shot, even after hours of rendering. Now, they draw on Clip Studio Paint. Now, it's a bit different from Procreate where you can directly hide layers, but it is still possible to trace in Clip Studio Paint, and I'll show you an explanation from a different artist because I don't own Clip Studio Paint, so I can't really explain it myself since I can't really test anything out myself. So I'll just include the explanation from Artist K. I need to address a small misinformation as well. Juvvie explains on her story that she had blocked me after having seen the collab post. However, that is factually impossible. I posted the collab post after understanding that they were not willing to communicate. And I also explained within the call out post that I was already blocked. Now moving on, a thing to note is that I only found out about this story on their highlight after making the collab post. Juvvie posted this story on May 28th, 2025, and they explained that they were going to call artists that were suspecting them of using AI to clear up the misunderstandings. And well, if nothing came up about it, people will naturally assume that you've proved your innocence, right? That footage that was recorded on May 29th, 2025, was never made public. Well, until now, that is. So to sum up, this is what Juvvie was able to draw during the live call. And this is what she had been actively posting around the same time. If you look at the process closely, you'll notice that the rough draft is very sketchy compared to their regular speed paints, where they start and finish with an extremely clean liner. Juvvie makes a lot of anatomical mistakes during the live call, but not on the speed paints. For example, the head is very small, the body is disproportionate. The right arm is shorter than the left one. And on top of this, in the live call, they use the lasso tool, but not in any of their speed paints. Believe it or not, you're going to want to hold my hand when I tell you this. Because Juvvie is an experienced tracer. This is not the first time Juvvie, or should I say Dry Kui, has made an AI tracing account. Pause, because how did I get to this conclusion? We'll get to it in a minute. Hold on tight. Now, Juvvie didn't really erase all the traces she left behind when she restarted her account. Now, how can I be so sure that Dry Kui is Julie's old account? Well, some of Julie's old fans reached out to me saying they knew her from back then. So I decided to look into it to see if I could find anything. And lo and behold, whilst looking at some of the posts on their Kara account, I found a sketch with an oddly similar sketching style as Juvvie. And not only that, Juvvie, I found your old card website, and if you pay attention and scroll to the bottom, you will find Dry Quiz Pinterest. And oddly enough, I found tons of pictures that align very much with what you post currently on your Juvvie account. For those who have never seen that piece before, Judy posted it around April 19, 2025. Somebody who had called out Juvvie before they became popular reached out to me, showing me everything they had posted on their highlights. Anywho, Juvvie probably moved to her current account after being outed because her Dry Kui account was not beating the AIR allegations anytime soon. And, well, if all of this wasn't enough for you, well, a Juvvie trace live on Instagram, if you didn't see the first seconds of this video. Basically, on the Instagram live, she pre-traced things she knows she has difficulties with and made it so that the opacity is hard to see on screen, but faintly there if you were to see her screen in real life, which is why it was only visible if you put filters on to darken the screen for the lines to appear. And they also aren't escaping the classic tracing allegations on Pinterest pictures either. They blatantly said it was their character design, which they did not design clearly, and they didn't call them art practices either. In the end, Juvvie, you may restart how many times you want, but in the end, money and fame can't buy the joy an artist feels in the process of drawing. That money doesn't come from your own hands. It comes from a mashup of other skilled artists' hard work. Imagine the success you're having right now was because People genuinely fell in love with your art. It's sad to see someone who's actually able to draw, that has a lot of potential, and perhaps once had a genuine passion for art, choose to use AI in this dishonest way. You're deceiving people into thinking the art is hand-drawn when it's actually traced over AI, and you're taking commissions under false pretenses. That said, if you ever choose to be honest about it, I would respect that. I'm sure some of your fans would love to witness your art journey and see how much you improve rather than whatever your AI was able to spit out. I don't know your personal circumstances for taking this path. However, although we've met in a bitter way, as another fellow artist, my greatest wish for you is to regain passion for art. What makes the art process fun is that you are able to create anything you want, anything you imagine into reality. Keep drawing your dream drawings. A quote from Steven Zapata that I quite like. Now, if you've watched until the end, thank you. And disclaimer, this will probably be my first and last call out video for these kinds of AI tracer videos because I'm an art account. I'm not a art drama account, and these kinds of videos are really draining to make. Well, unless I find you in the wild again, Juvvie.